It's showtime, folks. Welcome in. Chase and Big Joe, 1025, 1063, the game here on this Tuesday. We're live today at the Omni Nashville Hotel at Kitchen Notes, which we, of course, always love being at a little earlier in the week this week. He's Big Joe Dubin, our on site engineer, Sean Mark, who's with us, and Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, back at the studios. What's up, JoJo?
What's happening, man? We had to move away because they got some big time celebrities coming to this hotel over the next 4 to 5 days. And so it's always good to come down here and hang out and get a little food and stare at people.
Yeah, no, it's good. And they stare at us, and Sean Mark immediately tells them not to look at us and make eye contact. So we appreciate that. Snowmageddon is upon us, so that will be a lot of fun. You know, it's funny. I was kind of watching the weather last night and this morning to see, all right, when is this thing supposed to get here? They don't know. It's winter weather. You can't predict it.
And the news consultants are loving this because they could do their buzzwords. It's dangerous out there. Treacherous is a word that we do not use in our everyday vernacular.
No.
But I'll never forget, when I worked in news, they would come through, we got to do this, and it also became no longer predicting the weather, but you're tracking storms. Yeah. We're tracking the day. We're tracking the storm. It's going to be treacherous up on the plateau. Nobody uses those words. Stop it.
Here's what I want to know. Who tells consultants where does this come from?
Consultants are failed news reporters and news directors who think they can do things. It's like some coaches are failed players who think they can get and they're just not part of it. There are some consultants who are okay.
Does it go back to those that can't do teach?
Bingo.
Kind of thing? Yeah.
But most of them are complete jackass idiots. And I've worked for several in the news business that were just awful. But that's like when it was dangerous cold out there. Nobody uses that.
No.
Treacherous, all these buzzwords they're going to use in the next couple of days. It's just a winter storm that's coming through. That's it. Stop doing everything else.
Can I rant for like a minute?
Sure, buddy.
On something. So, we're down here at the beautiful Omni Nashville Hotel, which I always enjoy coming to. But I'm to the point, like this morning, I was like, I hate downtown. I hate driving downtown because most of the people that are either driving downtown or in some case walking downtown are idiots. And so I'm trying to turn on to Demonbreun to come down here. There's no turn signal on that light on 6th Avenue. So I'm right by the arena.
All right.
So we all know how this works, right?
You
put your turn signal on, you're trying to turn and everything. Well, I pull up to it, and there's a car that's just kind of stopped in front of me. Well, then this one car goes around that car. Then the car that was stopped realizes, oh, I could have gone, and they go. And so I'm distracted by all of this. The light changes. I'm like, oh, crap. All right. So I try to back up. Well, people just start walking without even looking. So I'm trying not to hit anybody.
Okay.
I'm like, I get it. You have the crosswalk, but you might want to just make sure, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, my bad. So I'm waiting.
My bad.
The light turns again. Well, there's this guy behind me that's just like honk, 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 honk. Like just all on his horn.
You or just in general?
At me.
Okay.
And I'm like, I have my turn signal. I can't go. People are walking. There's cars coming. What do you want me to do? I mean, he's like pulling up and everything. So I told him he was number one. And then he got, he honked even more. So I just left the one hand salute up for a minute. And then finally I was able to turn, and it was just like, pack your patience, man. Like, what do you want me to do?
Right. Okay.
Miss my red light because it's inconveniencing you?
Few questions. What's he driving?
I don't even know.
Toyota Tundra truck?
It might have been, yeah.
Okay. All right. Those are sometimes I get in arguments with them all the time. Kia? No?
No, on a Kia.
Okay.
It might have been a truck. I think it was a truck.
Okay. Here's the deal. You honk at me, I ain't moving.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not moving. I'm going to sit there twice as long now.
Is your computer muted?
Probably not. I don't know. I don't know what's going on over here.
I feel like I hear something.
I never did. It's your voice. That guy trying to chase you. He couldn't fight you.
But I mean, it's just like, I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, and it's like this everywhere.
Right.
But it's just like, just be patient.
So when you flip him off, do you stick your hand out the window or is it in
No,
the car?
I just kept it up in my car. But I have the sunroof now, so I might utilize that this
Do it.
summer.
I do it all the time. I use the sun, and that's the thing I talk about. If I let you in traffic and you don't acknowledge me and wave at me, I'm going to ride your bumper as far as I can because I'm mad. Right? All you can do is wave at me.
Yeah.
Just a simple wave. Hey, I'm letting you in. So do you get mad when people don't let you in? I do. I get irate.
I get mad. Here's the thing. When I'm driving, I get mad if you don't let me in because you're just you're like, we're in standstill traffic, but I'd be damned if I let you in.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, like no turn signal. It's not that hard to use the turn signal.
Correct.
I mean, they've made it very easy for you now.
It
even
is.
turns itself off. Like, you know, just
Right.
just flip the turn signal on.
All right.
So I get mad about that. We're all impatient, but there's like different levels of impatient. But like for the situation I was in, of which like I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I'm making a left turn at a red light that does not have a turn lane. Like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah.
So
There's nothing. You should know that. Be aware of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So
hawk at you.
it's
for
not
that.
my fault that you were late. Like, that's on you.
Yeah.
So you don't get to get mad at me because you were late.
Okay. All right.
That's kind of how I feel. I almost want to like take the question of the day. Do you flip people off?
Do it. I like it.
Do you flip people off?
Absolutely.
When
I
you get
do.
mad in traffic, do you throw the old one finger salute up?
Now, do you do the? I'm off camera here. Do you do that one or do you do the one with wings? When you flip off. I do the one with wings.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to do it.
I usually do the one with wings.
Oh, it's me too. Yeah.
Because, and you want to know how I got that? The first person I remember doing that was Kid Rock. Whenever
you flipped him off?
No. Whenever because like when he was all his albums, like in his early days,
Right.
was him. It was the middle finger.
Oh, okay.
And he had the wings.
Oh, because his airplane, the tail has
the middle finger.
Yeah.
On it. Yeah. And I think he has doesn't he have a brand of whiskey or something that's like got?
He might.
I think he does.
I could do that, but yeah, I always do it. My favorite, and I think I've told you this before. I cut off an elderly lady, and it was downtown here, and she pulled up. Now I didn't know what it was. She pulled up next to me. I'm like, here we go, and it was an older lady, and dude, she gave me the thumbs down. And you don't come back.
You just wanted to go home, didn't you?
You don't come back from a thumbs down because that's a level of disappointment that's hard to attain. So she gave me the thumbs down. I was like, this is awful. I'd have much rather her tried to fight me, with Colonel Jessup or stand opposed. But she gave me the thumbs down. I was like, oh man, this is terrible. Then I just drove off. But yeah. Just let me in traffic. I'll let you in traffic. I'll help you as far as you want to go, but acknowledge me.
Yeah. Yeah. Acknowledge.
Right. Just acknowledge me.
I mean, the thing is, like, I think people.
What a question of the day.
I think people are
It's great.
afraid of the one finger salute now because, I mean, we do live in you never know.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, there are times where, like, if somebody cuts me off, I kind of look at the car, especially, and I'm like, if the windows are all blacked out, I'm like, I'm probably just gonna resist. I don't know what's behind there.
My brother's advice is like, don't get out of your car.
Yeah, no.
Once you get out of your car, you're on an island.
Yeah.
So my brother's like, you can flip them off, yell at them, but don't get out of your car. So you got good big brother advice like that. You just kind of like, all right, I see what you're talking about.
I had
there.
a situation last week. I was trying to leave the Music City Center after a Preds game, and I was with some people, and they were driving, and so it's very slow moving. I don't know why. Like, if you park at the arena, like, they get you out of that garage, lickety split. But
right.
The Music City Center, for whatever reason, it gets backed up, and so there has to be some give and take. Like, you go, you let somebody out, and there was this one, but you got to be aggressive. You got to have a little bit that's on you. You got to like show like, yeah, you're gonna let me out.
Yeah.
Well, there was this one car that was just not aggressive. And like people kept going by.
Are you behind this car?
I'm behind.
Oh my gosh!
I'm behind a car that's behind them.
Oh god!
The car behind them got tired of it, and so went around them and basically cut them off. Dude gets out of the car and he's like, "Oh, look at you!" And he's like this little guy. And I'm just like, "Oh, what do you just get
little guys?"
I'm just like, just get back here. because he wouldn't do anything. He wasn't being aggressive, and so the guy just kept cutting him off. And
Were you driving?
no,
Okay.
my friend was.
Okay.
And then there was a car in front of us that cut the other car off, and
So let me ask you
it was
this
pretty
then.
funny.
And go back to our question there real quick, because I think it's fantastic.
Have you ever flipped, or do you flip people off in traffic?
That's a great question. When your friend's driving, do you, and they won't go around, or do you what's your body language? Or do you say anything, or do you lean up in the chair and
Depends
like
on who it
point?
is. If it's Ricky, I usually don't have to say anything because
Right.
he's going to be aggressive. But if it's Ricky, I don't care. I'm going to.
Well, he's in that big coupe de ville,
and vice versa. Like I'm in a group text this morning where he actually said, "I remember when Chase nearly cursed me out in Cincinnati when we were driving downtown because I hate driving downtown."
right?
In which I said, "I've cursed you out in many downtowns." Because Ricky's like yelling out the window, like, "Hey, you stupid!"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "We shut up."
Just don't get out of your car. You're good, man.
So let's see. People are saying no flip offs. Scott says, "Be careful about flipping folks off." Last year in Mount Juliet, some guy behind me laid on his horn at me for a reason beyond my control, so I flipped him off. And 3 seconds later, he was outside my window, flipping me off and pointing a gun at me. I don't flip people off anymore. Look, I get that. That is a concern nowadays, like that people just kind of flip and do that.
Well, it depends on how egregious you've cut this person off. If you cut them off or run into a ditch, there's no excuse. You should never pull a gun. But
yeah, do you ever do the? There was a comedy bit one time that this is kind of how white people do it. But do you ever do the okay? Like somebody cuts you off, you're like, you kind of hold up the, like, hey, good job, buddy.
Right, all the time. Just, you got to get mad at some level of that. But I'm all for flipping off, man.
I feel better. I feel we've had a little bit of a therapy session this
But
morning,
that's what's come to Nashville traffic has done
Yeah.
this to us.
Yeah.
None of the lights are in sync. There's not there. You don't have a turning lane when you come down here for that,
No.
so they're honking at you for doing that. Then if you try to move over, well, there's people trying to cross the road, and then they give you that look like, "What are you doing?" And just all the pedestrian crossways down here backs up traffic. And I get it, you need for all that, but my goodness, man.
My thing is like they're all and look, we have great city leaders that are doing a fine job, but the big thing that has been discussed is a transit plan and a traffic, to fix the traffic and all that stuff. And I'm like, guys, the genie's out of the bottle. You should have addressed this 20 years ago.
There's no traffic plan.
No,
I mean,
there's. I mean, what are you gonna do? Build a double-decker highway?
That's it.
You're gonna put
That's actually
You're
it.
gonna have helicopters like running around. Like, what are you gonna do?
I think the only solution is you've got to go up.
Yeah,
But that's
building
20 years.
Like, we have no parking because we're building buildings on parking lots. Like, I was looking at somebody did like a posted an aerial shot of the new stadium, right? And it's coming along, and I'm like, huh. So they can tear the old stadium down, and there's a parking lot, which they're probably not going to do. They're going to do something else with it, and it's like there's no.
Are they building high rises there allegedly or something?
Right. They don't replace the parking.
Let me ask you this. All right, you're coming into town. I'm in favor of making around town one way, like 9 lanes all across town. If you want to get off, you come in from the east, you get over West End, you got to go around the city, and you'll be able to get over and get to the left lane and get off on West End.
I'm okay building a wall that basically says you can't move here.
Right. They're not stopping for that.
We're full.
So there is no solution. So
No,
the solution is just to flip people off.
Yeah,
that's it.
615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line. Driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Clearly, I needed that today. So that's our question of the day. Do you flip people off in traffic?
I absolutely love it.
615-737-1025. Hal Gill going to join us at 9:30. Nashville SC gets their season started here soon. We're going to talk to Mike Jacobs, their general manager, later in the show at 10:30. A lot of changes with Nashville SC this year, so we will talk to them. Chasing Big Joe live at the Omni, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, watch it! Did you see that guy? He just gave me the finger.
You sure?
Oh, yeah. Middle finger straight up at me. At us.
What are you doing?
I'm following him. No one gives us the finger. We're Yankees.
Little George Costanza on a Tuesday morning. Chasing Big Joe. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We have some fun. Little road rage this morning. Really directed at me, but I kind of gave it back. So our question today is, do you flip people off when you're upset while driving? Mike on Kentucky Lake has a great one. Many years ago, I was driving at night, was being tailgated by some clown with his bright lights on, and I couldn't see them. So I gave them the old number one salute, and immediately blue lights came on.
Oh, no.
I do still flip people off in traffic, but I don't do it at night when I can't see who's behind me. Well, why was the cop tailgating you?
True.
You know, I mean, come
All
on.
right.
I mean that's a thing too. Patrick, since moving to Nashville 6 years ago, the amount I have flipped someone off is well into the thousands. I'm a native New Yorker, and we just get it all out one at a time. We don't let it bottle up. Always flip people off if they piss you off.
There we go. Yes. Unlike the West Coast people, let things bottle up inside of them. Our Yankee friends just let it all out right then. Boom, yell at you.
Devin and Dixon, I'm a rural mail carrier, and if you tailgate me while I'm about to service a box, you absolutely get the double Kid Rock birds.
Can you read that again?
Nope.
I don't think we can say that on the radio.
Well, we just
Damn
did.
you, Devin.
David, I'm from New Jersey, and I have to do it. 9064 says birds are flying on a daily basis.
I think we all
can't
need to
stand
admit
you.
this. We all need to freely admit this.
Let's see. 7948 says, I'll put my whole arm out the window and give them a sarcastic thumbs up when they won't let me over. That's a good one. People are also saying the thumbs down is
Good.
definitely the way to go.
No, if you let me in traffic, I will go out of my way to thank you. I'll sunroof, arm, everything, and I will repay the favor going on. But man, if I let a guy cross the Lebanon Road, he's going to Shipley's Donuts, if you know what I'm talking about, people, and we stopped traffic, he cut through, he didn't wait or anything. So I roll my window down and I yell at him as we drive off. It did nothing, right? But it for that moment, it satisfied me. So just wave at people.
Yeah, that's the other thing that pisses me off, when people don't do the courtesy wave.
Yep. That's it.
I always do. Like, you let me in, I go, hey, appreciate it.
That's it. Pretty simple.
Blake says, I don't flip people off. I honk, stare, or clap at them, and I usually throw my hands up and I get quite demonstrative. But if I do something wrong, I do own up to it. I do
Good
like
one.
the clap. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, and look, we
Thank
all
you.
mess up.
Yes.
I do like the clap. You know, like you clap.
Sarcastic clap?
Yeah,
That's always a good one.
yeah.
Because you've done like, oh God, you've done something. Or if you do to somebody else, but
Now,
again,
I will say this.
Yeah.
And Ricky knows this because I've yelled at him about this before. If I'm driving, the bird is my prerogative. The passenger does not get to do it.
good point.
If the passenger does it before me, I get mad.
Yep.
Because no, you've now taken my right away from me.
Because you may end up not having to do that, and they do it, and you get your ass kicked.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
You determine the severity and the level of whether or not you should flip somebody off. And I get it. And I just think it's even more now. I mean, it's not a downtown, it's a neighborhood, it's a rural thing. Happens all the time. But if you honk at me, like somebody honked at you, I'm telling you, man, I am sitting there through 2 red lights. At least.
Yeah.
Just because I'm mad now.
Let's go to Wes, who wants to win on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Wes, what's up?
Morning, fellas. I have a scenario I want to put y'all in traffic, and I want y'all to tell me how y'all would react. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going down Murfreesboro Road. I guess I won't say me. This didn't happen like 30 minutes ago, so yeah. I was in bumper-to-bumper traffic. You know, it's stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. So I finally got towards the end of that where traffic started to open up. So everybody in front of me started to gas it, to take off. So as soon as I started to gas it, everybody that was in front of me that was pressing the gas pressed the brakes. So to avoid hitting somebody in the rear end, I went over to the left side, which is the turning lane. Well, there's nowhere to turn. It's just a turning, but there's absolutely nowhere to turn. It's just a big long straightaway. So as soon as everybody gets ready to take off and start going, the guy that was behind me floors it into my spot, refuses to let me over. So I'm stuck in the turning lane for about 7 or 8 cars. How do you guys? I'm just, I'm not going to tell you what I said or what I did to the gentleman that was behind me, but I'm just curious. How would you guys play your cards at that hand?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Ooh,
I
I'd
mean,
just flip them off.
Yeah,
still.
I'd flip them off.
Yeah.
I'd still be. I mean, I think you're in the right there. I mean, you were doing everything you could. People just, the thing is, Wes, and it's becoming worse and worse and worse in Nashville, that when there's traffic and a lot of people out, people just become stupid. It just,
I think I drew an extra middle finger this morning, if that helps. So
yeah, no, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit.
thanks, guys. I feel better now. I don't feel like I just blew a gasket here. So I appreciate it.
Well,
Hey,
don't die on us, okay?
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Please don't,
Remember
and
that.
let us know what that ESPN notification was too. Thanks, Wes. Appreciate you. I heard the Sports Center. What did something happen? Something big happen?
I don't think so.
No, I
Nothing
didn't get
like
it. I didn't get it.
No.
Must not have been important. Nevada Josh, if you're in the passenger seat, can you moon them before the driver flips the bird?
that. If you can contort your body to do that, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can do it all day long.
6877, blow him a kiss. It throws him off.
Oh, that does.
That
That's
actually-
a
that's a good
smart
one.
ass kind of boom to you. Yep.
Byron, never applauded someone. That sounds awesome. That's a good one. 615-737-1025. We'll get back to this a little later on. Thank you all for having fun with us this morning, because that's what we like to do. We like to laugh and have a good time. But coming up next, the Four Nations tournament continues. The U.S. and Sweden played last night. We'll get Hal Gill's thoughts on that, and also some of the Preds involved as they move forward with their season, which returns on Saturday. Skillsy joins us next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe live at the Omni Nashville Hotel today at Kitchen Notes. Dr. Crane is back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. The Four Nations tournament has been going on, and I got to tell you, it has been very, very exciting. Sweden defeated the U.S. last night 2-1. The U.S. did sit a few guys. They're in the championship game. They will play Canada Thursday night for all the marbles. So we look forward to that matchup once again, because it was such a fun game. We say hello now to Hal Gill, who joins us here on the program, Predators analyst. Skillsy, the Four Nations has been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
It's been awesome. I was blown away. You know what? When they started talking about that, early in the season, it's the build up. I was expecting guys to go play hard. It's for your country. It's I didn't expect it to be this hard, though. It's crazy. It's like the speed of this game and the way they're playing and just the pace, the intensity. It kind of blows my mind. Like even that game last night, U.S. and Sweden, they're going out and the game doesn't mean anything. Like it's, the Sweden isn't going to get in. They're still going and battling. Brady Tkachuk is out there running around, smoking guys, and it's crazy. I do wonder how much the NHL and the owners are going to be like, we can't do this type of tournament during the season because it's not the Olympics. The Olympics, I think, is a different beast, but this is becoming something pretty special and so fun to watch. I've enjoyed it. So I can't wait for Thursday night. That'll be awesome. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I know it's going to be entertaining.
Well, you know how international tournaments can be. I mean, there's a lot of pride and everything, especially when you have, the Olympics or the Worlds or whatever it may be. But in this situation, since there's only 4, I feel like it's almost elevated. And it's kind of like, you've combined an international tournament with an all-star game, with a regular NHL like rivalry game. But the fact that you have guys that are teammates, regularly now going against each other, it's been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? The funny part is I played in 5 world championships and there's competitive and then there's that extra snarl when you have a rivalry and Canada for the U.S. has always been that rivalry, like, going toe to toe. And the world championships, those games are awesome because we are just trying to go, 2 physical teams that would battle and play hard. And Canada always had that swagger that they were just the toughest and the meanest. And when it comes down to grit, Canada is going to be the bully. And after watching the World Juniors, where the U.S. played a more physical game and ended up winning that tournament, and Canada coming into this, like I think the U.S. has kind of bullied them with the Tkachuks going out there and chucking the knuckles and Miller getting involved in it. I think this is the first time I've seen Canada be the less physical team. And so it's a passing of the torch, I think. And now I'm waiting to see the response, right? Canada's got to come out and battle and show that fire that they can play a physical, hard game. And so it's escalating. And I think that's great for sports is because people are seeing best on best, but not just best on best like in an all-star game, but best on best that they care. I mean, they're giving it everything they got, blocking shots and taking hits and giving hits, chucking nucks if they need to, whatever it takes to get this. So it's a great way to see some of the best hockey you'll ever see.
Hal, all the people across the league, they had to be ecstatic once this, 9 seconds into the game, 3 fights, everything, the purest hockey fans are just loving this. I know fighting has been kind of, shut, we don't want to do that anymore, but I'm telling you, my entire feed Saturday night, Hal, was about the fight. And I think people like, all right, what's going on? I think it's good for the sport. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah. You know what? The reason it's so awesome is because these are the best on best. You don't have, and no offense to, probably my game and other guys that I played with that were out there, just grinding it down and slowing down the game. And getting in fights and just trying to stay relevant and setting the tone with fights. This is great players that are going and fighting each other. Bennett and Kachuk they're both great players and they're out there swinging. And so I think when you put the skill of great players and give them that tenacity and that toughness, I think that's what makes it awesome. And that's what the great part of the NHL and hockey in general is, that you can fight, you can settle scores, you can change momentum in a game, you can set the tone. All this stuff that fighting is good for is being showcased, and not just a couple meatheads that really don't have an impact on the game other than fighting. And so I think that's the fun part for me and I think, the rest of the world kind of saw what, I don't want to say good fights. There's no such thing as good fighting, right? You tell your kids
Right.
that, but this is good fighting. This is what it's made for, and this is what it should be all about. And so that's what I think the rest of the world saw is, okay, this is what real fighting is about, and this is how it impacts the game, and this is how the USA went out and set the tone.
Would you think there'll be an edict come down from on high for the championship game? All right, don't do this again. We don't need this. This isn't good, blah, blah, blah. And do you think that edict will be ignored by the players?
Well, you know what? It's funny because, the TNT desk was talking about it and said, well, there's only one way to play, and that's, I think, Paul Bissonnette so eloquently described balls out hockey. I think you have to play a hard game, but you don't need to throw yourself at guys, especially in a game that doesn't mean anything. It's a one game rundown on Thursday. I'd like to see these guys not go out and try to kill each other and just play the game hard. But there's something to be said for, hey, I'm going to set the tone with a big hit. If one of the Kachucks goes out, or any U.S. player for that matter, goes out and runs someone and gets a big hit, the Boston Garden is going to go insane. It's going to be loud. It's going to be awesome. And that's going to get the momentum going. So I think these guys care too much about winning to not go all out. And I'm sure there's been the emails, initiatives, notes on the bulletin board, like, hey guys, this is a fun game. Let's keep it clean. But I think there's also a mindset that we're going to win and we're going to do whatever it takes to win. And so I think you're going to see guys ignoring all the initiatives and all the bulletin board material.
Hal Gill is with us. I know Preds fans were hoping to see UC Saros go into this tournament and have a good tournament, unless it was against the U.S. I certainly understand the pride thing, but he had a rough outing. He does come back in yesterday, doesn't give up a goal. How do you think that this affects his confidence? Because I know that's been a big topic of conversation that we've had lately with Juice and his confidence.
Yeah, well, don't forget, you're also playing against, not just 4 first lines, but 4 really good first lines combined with the best players of every line on every team. And so, I think you take what you can out of this tournament, and you want to get some momentum, and you're hoping Juice goes and finds his game and plays well, but you also take it with a grain of salt because, everywhere you look, there's another shot that's elite level that's better than, you might play against, I don't know, pick any NHL team and have 3 or 4 guys that you're worried about on each team. And with this, you're worried about every guy on the ice. Throw in the defenseman as well. Like, these guys are coming down and every one of them can light you up. And so I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's a battle in this tournament. The best on best is just that for a reason. These guys are good. So I think, you learn a lot. I know these games are faster than any game I've seen this season. So, coming back, I think all these players are going to go, oh, whoa, okay, this game slowed down. And the NHL, as fast as it is, isn't even close to the level that they're playing in this 4 nations.
How they come back, they got 4 games in 6 days. Likely these games are at home. What do you need to see from the Preds when they hit this last half part of the season?
It's just I think you get a good reset. Like, the three guys that we're playing, obviously are going to come back and say, oh, like we just talked about, it's going to be, all right, back to business as usual, like get into our game. But the other guys that took a break and had a chance to just get away from the grind of a losing season, I think it's going to do wonders for them. I think they're going to come back with a fresh mindset. And I think what we need to see from them is just coming together as a team and developing their identity, playing the right way. There's younger guys in the lineup that are going to get some looks and they're going to get more minutes. And I think we need to see the veterans kind of set the tone for how they play and the style that they're going to play. Can they play a team game and find that identity? Last year it was relentless. They haven't been relentless. They need to find a new identity or find that relentless game that they had last year. And I think that's the challenge that they need to come together. And with a fresh mindset, I think that's going to be a good, you have your iPhone and you hit the buttons on each side and reset the whole thing. And it comes back and it works normal. I think that this break is that little reset that they need.
For sure. We'll get it going again this Saturday. Skillsy, thanks as always. We'll see you this week.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get back. I mean, hey, everyone enjoyed the break, but I'm excited for Thursday night's game and then back to being a Preds fan and watching these guys go out and do their thing.
Yeah, us too. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you Saturday.
Sounds good. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Hal Gill, Predators analyst, joining us. You can see him on TV on the FanDuel Sports Network and hear him on the radio as well on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll come back with more. We'll get back into our question of the day, which has gotten a lot of reaction.
It has, right?
We should have asked Hal that because, being a Northeasterner, I'm sure.
What do you think his answer is?
Yes. You learned that. You learned that very quickly.
Right?
For sure. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe live in the Omni, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game on this Tuesday. Are we the whole damn show today?
Yes, sir, we are.
Little Rob Van Dam bringing us back. You just kind of feeling some RVD?
I am.
I like it. It's good. Gets us in the wrestling spirit. That is for sure. We're going to get into something at 10 o'clock that we've talked about a little bit, but I think it's a conversation that needs to be had involving a prominent former Titans employee.
Yes. And it didn't hit the news cycle. It hit the news cycle this weekend, but there was so much going on that it wasn't talked about. And we need to talk about it because I don't know. You'll talk about it now?
Well, I was going to do something else here.
All right, go ahead. Stay at 10 o'clock. You'll want to hear this.
Yeah, 10 o'clock we will get into it. No, it's hard to believe 24 years ago today, we lost Dale Earnhardt.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. February 18th.
February 18th, 2001.
Where were
Daytona
you?
500.
Were you watching?
Yep. I was doing like I did this year. I was sitting on the couch watching all day. I was let's see, I was in the 7th grade, so I was 13, 12. 13. I was 13. Watching it, I was at mom's and watching the race like I always did and everything, and you know how it all unfolded. And you know what's crazy is I even saw him wreck. You know, I saw the wreck and I was like, well, Dale's going to be mad, but you know, at least his car won. He'll be happy about that. But
nobody saw that.
No,
nobody.
You watched the Ryan Priest's wreck from this past Daytona 500 and you go, well, that guy should be dead.
Right.
Like you watch Dale and it's just like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Who was it when the car came resting in the infield? Who was it that ran over
Kenny Schrader,
waving people over? Because he knew, right?
Yeah. And so there's a great clip of him with Dale Jr. From a few years ago on the Dale Jr. download. And they do this great interview and everything. And, Schrader and Dale Sr. were really tight. And, he tells a story about there's a famous kind of like in racing lore called The Week. And Dale Jr. was probably like 15, 16 years old. And he goes and spends a week with Kenny Schrader and some of the guys that ran around with Dale racing. And that was kind of like Dale Jr.'s kind of like coming of age, because he grew up a lot that week and, and everything. And so they were telling that story, and like Schrader said, I told you one thing, don't let your dad look you in the eye and don't let him smell you because he'd been drinking. And Dale Jr. let both of those happen.
Right.
But anyway, at the end of the interview, he says, there's something I've been wanting to tell you and wanting to say. And so I wrote it down and he reads it and basically, thank you for protecting, our dad, like the worst moment of Dad's life, protecting that moment and that secret, because Schrader won't talk about it. But he knew. I mean, I think he looked in and he knew, and the only thing he's ever said was, I knew it was real bad.
Right.
And because he, he's telling the story of like, got out of the car and was going to walk over and kind of shoot the breeze with Dale, be like, well, there's another one. And I got over to the window and I looked in and I knew it was bad.
Oh, man.
And, they, as we've kind of later found out as the research happened, that, the way that they didn't have the head neck restraint devices, that the Hans device is what it's called,
right,
had just come out. And some drivers were wearing it, some weren't, but it wasn't mandatory. Dale was old school. He still had the open face helmet, didn't wear any kind of head neck restraint. There's a lot of the older guys didn't.
Yeah.
And, essentially, even though it looked harmless, getting turned, going 180 miles per hour and then going straight into the wall.
Looked harmless is a great way to describe that.
To
do that. I went to the movie. I'll never forget. I went to the movie today. I saw Hannibal and I came back and it was like Dale Sr. had died and all that. I'll never forget that there was a sportscaster at Channel 2 who said, it was not John Dwyer, who said that Dale received a vicious tap from Sterling Marlin.
Right.
So Sterling Marlin was already back in Nashville because playing was already back at his house. So Sterling goes crazy and says, some powdered up pretty boy on local news blamed me for this wreck, and it was not my fault.
Yeah.
And then it took a whole turn. Not only the fact that Dale Sr. had passed away, but now the blame game had started. And it just took off. You probably don't remember that, but we were like,
oh, I know, I do, because there were people that,
because all the TV stations were like, who's he talking about? Because and it came back to be Channel 2 at the time, and and it was so damage control started.
Yeah.
So the tentacles of this accident just took off to far-reaching places. The next week, I had to go to Rockingham to cover, and that's when Dale Jr. got in a wreck on
like the first or second lap. Yeah. But then Steve Park, who drove for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, won the race.
Yep.
What was crazy about all that is Sterling got blamed, and it wasn't Sterling's fault.
No,
it was a racing deal. I mean, it was one of those tragic racing accidents. But so Sterling, went on with Dale Jr. and didn't really talk about it much. But then Dale Jr. Explained that, he goes, the thing about Sterling is he didn't like to talk about that day either, but apparently, according to like people in his circle, he goes back periodically, even I think to this day, and watches the end of that race.
Sterling
does, to see what he did wrong, to see if he did anything wrong. He holds that guilt, even though he didn't do it. I mean, it wasn't, again, like it was the crazy thing about it all was Dale Earnhardt was doing a non-typical Dale Earnhart thing.
Correct, right?
He was blocking. He wasn't trying to win.
He was an owner.
He wanted his son. It was for his son. But Michael Waltrip was like one of his best friends. And he wanted one of those guys to win that race. And, a lot of people, even to this day, said Dale had the best car. Like, if Dale wanted to go past those guys, he could have. And it's just crazy. But I sit back and I think, and like I go back to this Daytona 500, that wreck with Ryan Preece, right? They had started down the road of safety and looking at the cars and looking like, we need to fix this. And because the drivers had even said, with this package and the way we're driving at these super speedway tracks, somebody's going to get killed. And at that point, two drivers, Adam Petty, Richard Petty's grandson, Kyle Petty's son, and Kenny Irwin Jr. had died the year before at New Hampshire, which wasn't a super speedway. It was a mile, but you got real fast there. And it was the same way. Basically, there's a name for it, but essentially what it was is you hit the wall. It's such a hard impact. Your neck like snaps.
Yeah, right.
It essentially snaps your neck.
Okay.
And so, sorry, I was trying to describe that the best I could. And that's what happened to Dale. But when you're most popular, the face of your sport, when it's him, even though one of the guys had the last name of Petty, it was one of those like, okay, we got to do something. So they put the Hans device became mandatory, full face helmets. They started making the car of tomorrow, which, hurt the sport, but helped it at the same time.
Okay.
It was a necessary evil, like they needed to. And the safe walls, the safer barriers, the soft walls, they put those in. At the end of the day, it's still a dangerous sport.
All right, let me ask you this. Had he died at, let's say, Atlanta, it would have been tragic. It's awful. But to die in your sport's biggest moment, it's just, you don't want to write that script, but
no,
it's just, you look back at that thinking, man, what the hell overall of all this?
I know. And it's the sadness is, and if you're a big Dale Sr. fan, I highly recommend going back and, listening to some of the Dale Jr. download, because he kind of started that show to learn more about his dad. Was kind of that thing. And like he's talked about it multiple times, that the really hard part with it was, he and his dad were really starting to have a good relationship, there at the end. And, Dale Senior was in a really good place. I think he was kind of looking at. He was 49. He was
49.
He was looking at,
Gosh.
racing a few more years, but he had just finished runner-up in the championship. A lot of people thought 2001 he was going to win 8. He was going to break Petty's record.
Right.
He was going to win the 8th and then probably hang it up.
God, he'd be 73 now. Did you enjoy, because you know more about this than I do, the movie 3?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it was definitely a movie, and supposedly they're making another. They're actually doing a biopic that will be like in theaters and stuff.
I didn't understand, because I tell you, one of the greatest lines ever in a movie is because you really saw the difference between Daryl Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt, and then in the movie he walks by Waltrip's character and says, "Hey, Daryl, I heard you've been talking about me in the papers." And then Daryl Waltrip says, "Damn, Dale, I didn't know you could read." That's just a funny moment. It always makes me laugh. But I enjoyed it. For somebody that's not into the sport like you are, I thought he got a lot right.
Yeah, and I mean
it made him human.
Sure. And they had to explain how he got the name Ironhead and Jaws, and a lot of people. I will tell you, and I know we got to go to break. That one of the coolest things that I've ever gotten to do was there was a test at Nashville Super Speedway after they announced that they were going to come back and that the Cup Series was going to be there. And so I was doing the show from there that day, and DW was there, and there was a period in time where there was just nothing going on. And so I had finished up the show, and DW's just sitting there with me, and we're just kind of talking, just shooting the breeze. And we started talking about Dale, and you could read his eyes of that was his friend. That they had one of the best rivalries in the sport.
Oh, yes.
But they had this amount of respect for each other, and then this friendship later on. And I just remember him looking at me. He goes, "Man, I miss my buddy. I really do." And it's
different time back then.
So it's just hard to believe. 24 years ago today, as Mike Helton said when he made that announcement, we lost Dale Earnhardt. So just wanted to take a little time to talk about that. But coming up next, we're going to get into the Titans and someone that you said it when we were kind of setting this up. He needs to do something.
Yep.
But he can't. But he can't yet.
Right.
We'll discuss it coming up next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, live at the Omni Nashville Hotel at Kitchen Notes here today, usually on Thursdays, but a little earlier this week. Getting into the Titans, and also Nashville SC GM Mike Jacobs going to join us at the bottom of the hour, so looking forward to that as they get ready to start their season. Something interesting. We talked about it last week. John Robinson interviewed with the Jacksonville Jaguars for their GM job. And then I guess it was Friday or Saturday or something like that. The list of finalists came out, and John was not on that list. And we were in our group text and kind of like, man, hate that for John. Like, he just can't, he's gotten a couple of interviews, but that's as far as it gets. But you have an interesting theory on that.
So I'm reading all these articles about him, and he's did a great job with the Titans, and they were bad before he got there and all that. And then he goes to the one part, and it says, in these interviews, how does John Robinson explain A.J. Brown?
Yep.
And then John is still on the payroll of the Titans. So if you're at an interview for a GM job, there's a fine line of bashing the owner.
Sure.
Because you're thinking, God, what's happened if I let him? He's going to bash me too. So there's all this psychological warfare going on. But at some point, John Robinson is going to have to expand. Those have argued against us, and you're wrong. But Amy Adams had to say the final thing on this.
Yeah.
She had. There was no way John Robinson was going to let A.J. Brown go. Because he's a player. I mean, he's a great player. At the price, he had to go to her and say, this is what he wants. I'm not paying that. What should we do? Well, the alternative is we could pay him. He's going to hold out from camp, might cause a disruption, or we trade him. Then trade him. This story's got to come clean if he wants to. It's got to.
Yeah.
Because I'm not hiring him unless you explain to me why you traded A.J. Brown. That's the bottom line. That's it. I got to know why you traded him. So does he be honest? I don't know.
I mean, it's a tough one. And I agree with you. And my thing is, I don't think I think a year from now, he can be a little more open on things.
Yep.
Because that's when, his contract is up. And so she's done paying him at that point. Usually there are NDAs that, non-disclosure agreements that you sign in those situations.
Exactly.
And those go away. And so, he might be able to be a little more open.
What's more disconcerting to you, the A.J. Brown part or Isaiah Wilson, Farley, Burks? Because I don't blame him for Burks.
No.
Because that was a reactionary pick when that happened with A.J. Brown gone. You thought you could get 2.0.
Here's the thing. I've said this before. I think the pick of Burks got him fired more than the trade of A.J. Brown. Because my guess is in those conversations, they're like, look, let me be very clear. I have not exonerated John Robinson from that situation. He was obviously very involved in it. But people that want to exonerate the owner need to rethink that. And so
yes,
they're both guilty in that. But my guess is in that situation, it went down just like you said. Look, he's going to, this is what he wants. Well, we're not going to give him that. Okay, well, then he's going to hold out. He's doing all this stuff on Twitter. Because I can tell you, I do know for a fact that the social media stuff did not sit well with them.
Mm-hmm.
They did not like that stuff.
Right.
Much. Because, they are very internal. Keep everything internal. So, this is all happening. So we have we can either – try and get him signed and get him a deal that's going to be good for us and make him happy, or, we can trade him. I really like this guy, Burks. I think Burks is is just like AJ. They're built the same. They play the same way, both in the SEC. I think he'd come in and do a really good job for us. We've already kind of been looking at him anyway. So I think we'll be fine. Like, I don't want to trade him, but if this is what we have to do, then I have plan B. And, she ultimately signed off, and then they drafted Burks, and Burks obviously wasn't the answer. So I've always kind of felt that he thought he had the fix, and the fix didn't work. Plus, he already had these strikes against him with Isaiah Wilson and Caleb Farley, and it just ultimately got to the point where it was like, all right,
why is she exonerated from this? I still don't like Rex
She's
Road.
not in my mind.
Rex Road argues up and down. She had nothing to do with it.
I mean,
I don't know your argument. You are the owner of the team.
yeah,
John Robinson does not have the power to give you that contract.
right.
He doesn't have the power. He has to go to somebody who has the power, and that's her. Do you think she said, "What do you want to do, John?" He's going to say, "We sign him.
I want to sign him." Yeah,
We can't. Well, I'm not paying that much money. Remember, she's her father's daughter,
Right.
notoriously cheap throughout the entire ownership part of this, and says, "I'm not going to do that." Well, what's going to happen? We don't sign him. Well, they distinctly remember 2005 when Pac-Man Jones held out. It was an absolute nightmare when he held out in 2005, and she's thinking, "Oh, this is the same thing. I'm not going through this. I saw what it did to my dad. I'm not going through this." And then so, boom, trade him. All right, here's a
Right.
willing trade partner. Philadelphia. Boom, there it goes. So I think John Robinson did not get the Jacksonville GM job with these 5 other guys. And I looked at these guys. John's, if not equal, better than all those 5. Didn't get it.
Yeah. I do wonder if they ask him, because here's the other thing that I try and take a step back and look at. You know, some people within, like, was he sitting down with Shad Khan? Was he sitting down with Tony Khan? You know, like, who is he talking to? Some people will look at the AJ situation and go, okay, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, an owner may look at that and go, yeah, I wouldn't have paid him either. You know, he was all that stuff. Do we think the drafts is what's hurting him more? Because I do think that they probably have a bigger weight than maybe we're giving them credit for. Isaiah Wilson,
I don't blame him for that.
I'm not going to give him a pass altogether because it's your first-round pick, but nobody saw that.
No.
So
Great at Georgia.
So, you know, he graded well. Nobody talked about that at Georgia. I mean, this was a guy that just got his check and hated football.
Right.
Caleb Farley, you drafted a hurt guy.
Yep.
Nobody, you know, I will never forget Tim Hasselbeck coming on the midday show and saying, have you ever met anybody that used to have a bad back? And everybody was saying, don't do it. No other teams were like, well, yeah, we're not touching him. And they spent a first-round pick on him. So that one is the one. I think that, you know, he's got to sit there and they were like, all the medicals told you this guy had a bad back. Why'd you take him?
Right. Yeah. All that. Exactly. I'm looking at Isaiah Wilson's pre-draft measurables. I mean, he ran at 6'6", 350. He ran a 40 and 5'3". I mean, he had all the intangible. His cone drill was 8.2. That is huge for a guy of his size. His lateral back and forth was great. I mean, everything was there. And you missed on him. It happened. I don't blame John Robinson for Isaiah Wilson being a complete failure. I don't. Because once you get to the league, then you got to work harder. I don't blame. But the Farley and the Burks, and not good.
The problem is he and his staff could not navigate the COVID drafts. And I think he'd admit that. Because, I mean, 2019 was really good. 2019 was a good draft for the Titans. And you would had expected to replicate that, you know, in either maybe not 20, but 21, 22, somewhere in there.
Right.
You just couldn't do it. And so I think that is the tough part and things that he's having to explain at prospective employers. But at the same time, you know, they look at him and know, well, he's still getting paid by the Titans. I still hope that he gets another shot. I mean, I think he deserves another chance. And I know there's those of you out there that are listening that, you know, you can't stand him and you think that, well, he's the reason the Titans are in the mess they're in. He's not the only reason the Titans are in the mess they're in.
No, not at all. I'm looking back at the 2020 NFL draft, and the Giants took a Georgia tackle at the 4th pick, Andrew Thomas. But there's been I guess let me look up, still there. But so the whole COVID excuse drives me bananas because that's a great fallback excuse. Like, well, COVID, we couldn't talk to him. You got tape.
Yeah.
You've got tape of these guys. You don't need to sit down and do a 1 hour, you know, back and forth with them. You just don't. I mean, some people love that. I'm not a fan of that. But
I
you got
mean,
tape.
look, I think sitting down and, I'll never forget Floyd saying, I want to look the guy, I want to see the whites in his eyes, and sit down and talk to him. And I think that's important. The tape obviously is important too. I'm not saying it's not, but I do think they missed something, not being able to sit across from a guy and ask him questions.
I completely disagree. I'm telling you, man. It's the tape. What did you do on the field? I don't care how you greet me in the lobby of a hotel.
I
don't care you sit
I
across
think
from
both
me.
are equally as important.
You totally disagree.
You got to know what makes a guy click.
So you can tell me all the right things in the hotel room, but then you get your ass beat on the bull rush every time. No, the tape shows me who you are. The tape. What if a guy doesn't like talking? He's an extreme introvert. Doesn't like talking to anybody. Oh, I'm not going to take. He didn't look me in the eye. I don't. He only talked. He talked in low, mumbled tones. Well, maybe that's the way he is.
Yeah.
The tape, the eye in the sky, and I heard this 1,000 times playing football, and I hate this phrase more than anything else. Eye in the sky doesn't lie. But again, I don't blame John Robinson for this. I don't do that. But Farley, everybody misses on guys, but the Farley one's like, what are you doing? And then the reaction to Burks and all that. John Robinson's got to do a PR. He's got to do a PR kind of redo things. Here who I am. Here's what I did great. Because this ain't working right now because he's getting blamed for all this.
615-737-1025. I don't know if anyone really cares if he gets a job. I mean, I think some do.
I think we care around here.
We do. I mean, we do. I'm talking about listeners. Like, do they care? They're probably looking like, well, no, our team needs to get fixed first, which.
Well, they're in the mood it is because of the guy that's no longer there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a collective.
It is a collective.
615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Hey, Vanderbilt baseball, they are back at it. 94.9 The Fan today. Pregame at 12:45. The first pitch at 1 o'clock on 94.9 The Fan. They moved that game from tomorrow to today because of the potential weather. So you can check that out starting at 12:45. We're live at Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Dr. Crane in a wrestling theme mood. I like it. Have a nice day. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game on this Tuesday, live at the Omni Nashville Hotel at Kitchen Notes. People are weighing in on basically the discussion we had of, I think it's important. I'm not dismissing the tape. Let me say the tape is very, very important.
And try to take this back now.
I'm not taking anything back. You will let me speak or I'll turn your mic off. No, it's number one. The talent on the field is obviously number one. But I do think that sitting across from a guy and kind of learning how he ticks is important. I mean, like, you got to know if a guy truly loves football and loves what they do and how they're going to fit with your team, because the team has a personality. Do they fit the personality of the team? If they don't, now look, there are some guys that are so talented that you work around that. But if they don't, and you feel like this is a guy that's not going to mesh with us and mesh with our locker room, then I think you need to know the answer to that.
My thing is, a guy doesn't want to talk, and he's silent.
There's a difference in being shy and being the quiet type, and like, for instance, if I were conducting an interview, football is a violent game. Football is a game where you got to be reactionary and you got to think quick. And, if a play goes bad, like, you got to know that this is a guy that he's going to jump on the football like it's a grenade, that, like, you want a guy like that that's willing to take a risk. So I would sit there and I would go, let's say you're sitting at the blackjack table, right? You got a 16, the dealer's showing a face card. Do you hit or do you stay? Because you can kind of go either way with that.
You're going to determine
that
question?
Just
okay. All right, go.
Do you hit or do you stay? Answer the question.
I am fortune favors the bold. I hit.
Okay.
That's me.
That tells me that's a guy that's willing to take a risk. That's somebody that's willing to, because it's a gutsy move.
All right.
The odds are not really in your favor.
Okay.
But that's what I would do. And so I kind of look at it as you need to see how a guy's going to react in a situation where they got to make a really fast decision, but are they willing to take a risk? Are they willing to, like, because on a play, like, if, a fumble or whatever, I mean, how many times do you see a guy get hurt, but they're diving for the football?
All right.
And that's what you want.
Ask me the question again.
You're playing blackjack. You have a 16, dealer showing a face card. Do you hit or do you stay?
I don't gamble.
Okay. That's fine. That's an answer too.
So what do you take away from that, Sally Jesse?
I do not sign you to my football team. That's what I take away.
I'm a tape guy. I want to see.
I am too. I mean, you're acting like I'm completely dismissing that, and I'm
but
not.
You told me it's equal, and I don't think it's equal.
I think they're both very, very important.
I mean, can you imagine sitting across from Vrabel? What are you going to do in this thing? We're going to do that thing.
I probably would have loved Vrabel if I was a coach.
Play football. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to help my teammates. I mean, give me all the answers you want. What are you going to do it on the field? That's the bottom line. It's on the field.
Dustin in Hopkinsville, I believe it's much more to do with the man asking the questions, looking at the reactions. Not everyone's the GM. He was a reader of people. I vibe people. I don't know what he's trying to say, but 95% of the time can observe and tell you what move a guy is making at work with what he's doing, his body language. I'll take the whites in the eyes. It doesn't matter the talent a man has if he's equally a hidden POS.
Okay, I see what you're saying there.
That's what he's saying. Al says, sorry, Chase, Big Joe is dead right on in this debate. Tape matters so much more. Could care less about their meet and greet. That is just a trained game. It matters, but not compared to their skills and health.
Bingo.
Jeff says, Joe, sorry, man. You may miss now and then, like with Isaiah Wilson, but overall, a good interview can uncover a lot. Question is, are decision makers willing to let skill with a poor value system override not taking a player with a poor value system? It has been done hundreds of times, Titans included.
All right.
And look, here's the thing. If I sit down and I'm A.J. Brown, all right, let's just use A.J. Brown. Do we think A.J. Brown lacks confidence?
No.
Right. Like he's borderline cocky, but he backs it up. And that's a guy, like if I'm sitting down and I'm talking to him and he's telling me like, hey, I'm the greatest player ever. You want to draft me because I'm going to make you better. Okay. And then I look at the tape and I go, all right, he backs it up. I like that. I want that on my team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it as a football evaluator, I would look at that and go, hell yeah, I want that on my team. I need a little cockiness there. Owner might look at that and go, well, he talks too much on social media. But that's where I think they're both
right.
They're both important.
I've sat in those rooms where the coach rips you apart on the tape, or back then it was the film. And it's eye-opening. It's embarrassing. Sometimes it's exhilarating when you're getting singled out. I mean, I got ripped one time and the entire room was laughing at me. And I just started laughing. It was all awful, awful play by me. But the tape showed what I could and could not do. I could sit in a room and BS you all day long, man, and get out there and be bad. I just think the tape does so much, and we look at things to blame off of that. He just didn't want to play football.
Sure.
Yeah, he was good in college.
Right. There's some guys that just don't.
We talked to Brett Kern yesterday about it. He had that long list of players. It's sometimes you draft these guys, you got to be lucky, then good. Right. I mean, Mitch Trubisky went 3rd overall, right? Daniel Jones. I mean, what happened? This weren't good. You lost it. And Mahomes is taking after them, and he becomes a generational quarterback. I don't know. It's just that the cat, and we love it because you just don't know what's going to happen until they get on the field.
Indeed. Speaking of the field or the pitch, as
pal.
they say, the pitch. Nashville SC, their season about to begin. We'll talk to their GM coming up next here on Chasing Big Joe 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Oh, hell yeah. On this Tuesday, live at the Omni Nashville Hotel at Kitchen Notes. Nashville SC about to get things going once again. It's hard to believe. I mean, it's already that time. And, you know, we're talking about it's been 5 years since they made their debut in MLS. We all remember that first season. We bring in the GM, Mike Jacobs, who joins us now as they get ready to get things started coming up on Saturday. Mike, how the heck are you?
Good, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing fantastic. And look, I know you have to be excited to get the season going against New England, getting Geodis Park rocking again. But your team's gone through quite a bit of change in this offseason. And, you know, for those that have been following along since day one or those that are casual fans, you know, what's kind of the, I guess, quick synopsis of where you are is now you made a coaching change last season. You got BJ in now, but a lot of different players have left and now come into your program.
Well, I always joke about the offseason almost like in air quotes, because where it's important for the players and staff to step back and rest and recover, you know, for me and the guys I work with closely, that's the busiest time of the year for us. You know, the transfer window in the winter is really when teams tend to, in our league, activate players the most. And, you know, for us, not only having a coaching change in the middle of last season, but really a roster that's had just about a 50% turnover. You know, it's been a busy off season. Those deals don't occur just over a week or two. It's months in the making. So it's been a busy last 8-10 months. And it's really exciting to kind of get the chance to see all these guys, maybe who were magnets on a board for most of the last 8-10 months, to now be having them on the field wearing gold.
Yeah, and, you know, the thing is, like, people kind of got used to certain players that were here since the beginning that are now no longer with us, you know, and for the first time as a soccer city, we're kind of going through that. You know how sports work. There's a lot of change, but what should fans be excited about with this new look Nashville SC as they go into the first full season with BJ as the head coach?
Well, look, the reality is, you know, from a roster standpoint, you know, some of these guys, I said this about Annabelle Godoy, you know, who moved on at season end, he did nothing wrong but just get 5 years older than he was when we first acquired him. So the reality is it's just not possible to sustain success and bring the same guys back every year. And that's in any sport, any team. You know, for us, you know, the idea of making a coaching change, it wasn't just about like adding BJ Callahan. We had a conscious idea of trying to have it change in our game model. And that's not just how we wanted to attack and defend, but, you know, maybe the age of players in our group, where players came from. So for us, you know, I think it's going to look different from the standpoint that, you know, NSC 2.0 on the field is a very different iteration, maybe to what fans have come to expect for most of the first 4.5, 5 years. But, you know, really exciting, I think, to look at not only who's going to be on the field, but how we're going to play, and in a fashion that I think can not only pursue cups, you know, soon, but also sustain success, but I'll do it for years to come.
You know, we know Mike Jacobs is with us, GM of Nashville SC. We know about the mainstays, obviously, Sam Surridge, Hani Mukhtar, Alex Muil, you know, that have been here for a long time. But, you know, some of the new guys that you've added. Tell us about Patrick Yazbek, the young 22-year-old from Australia that you added. I know you have to be excited about him.
Yeah, look, we added Patrick last summer. He was someone we pursued probably for about 8 months prior to that. Really young talent. Where he was playing for Viking in Norway. You know, he's already on the Australian national team, which is really encouraging for a 22-year-old, especially thinking about the fact that we're going to host the World Cup here in our country in 2026. You know, Patrick absolutely has the ability to be someone who could perform in that stage. And, you know, a lot of times when you add a player in the summer, where that's the traditional window where most other parts of the world are doing a lot of shopping, in our league, it's the middle of our season. So adding a player like that in the middle of the season, obviously there was an acclimation for him, an adaptation to our league and our country. So with him now having a full off season, I mean, he's the kind of box-to-box midfielder that I think every team wants to have, and to have someone at the age he's at and his enthusiasm level, he's got a lot to offer on both sides of the ball.
We're talking to Mike Jacobs, the GM of Nashville SC on the Chasing Big Joe show. Mike, I have all the stupid questions, so here we go. Do you know every player on every other roster in the MLS?
Yes.
I had a backup, like, if you don't, should you, and all that. What is that? Do you pay attention when teams, you know, they waive guys, they sign guys? Is that something you look at every single day?
Yeah, look, it's part of what we're doing. I describe it sometimes almost like the stock market. You have to identify trends. You have to understand, whether it's when to add someone, when to move someone. So I think it's important to make sure you understand what everyone else in our league is doing. And to be honest, I think a big reason why a lot of times when it comes to talking about personnel, I have to keep my cards close to the vest from the standpoint that we don't want to create a competitive disadvantage. The reality is sometimes things we share when it comes to players we're looking at from within our league, outside our league, when people find out about that, it can create maybe a competitive disadvantage. So we have to be kind of strategic about what we can share and what we don't.
So it's a big cat and mouse game, right?
For sure.
Oh, I love this. There's a saying in hockey where they say in October, November, you can't win the Stanley Cup, but you sure as hell can lose it. Does that apply to the early seasons of MLS where you can't win the championship in March and April, but you sure can put yourself in a bind? That being said, how important are these quick starts at the beginning of the season?
In England, I would hear sometimes that they use Boxing Day, like right around Christmas time for maybe you can't win it before Boxing Day, but you can lose it. So exactly that point about the NHL. In our league, it's a 34-game season. The duration of the season is probably closer to resemble Major League Baseball than like the NFL from the standpoint. It's a long year. And, I've been with groups that really are trying to push come out of the gates really hard. And, absolutely you want to build momentum, but you also can kind of, burn your team out and not have much less left for the rest of the season. And, I think you've seen that with our group here, even at the season we had the most success, maybe to run out of gas, when the summer months hit. And, for us, I think we obviously want to win every game we play. And please know I'm the worst loser you could be around.
Good.
I'm amazed when I see people who are upset after games we lose and, it might shout something at me. Please trust. No one wants to win more desperately than I do.
I love it.
But I would say also, the reality is, winning, outcome is just like a win and loss for one game. Process is like how you win, how you don't lose. And, for us, we want to win every game, but we want to have it like in October, clicking on all cylinders. And, to do that, you have to be kind of strategic what you're doing in these months also. And, you obviously want to go with your foot down the gas, down as far as you can to the floor, but you got to be mindful of making sure you're doing it in the right way. And, you can sustain it throughout a grueling 34-game season.
Oh, I love it. Also, you have the unique perspective. You've been here for quite a while. To see this, it's like a child. You saw as an infant, now it's grown up, now it's entering, elementary school, and, to kind of do a comparison there. How much fun is this still for you, Mike, when you see what's going to take place Saturday and to see the city come together and see this team that you kind of built from nothing to where it is now? It's got to be a great feeling.
It's it's a dream come true to have an opportunity to do something like this. A role I have at a club like this in a city like this. The idea to look at something that you put on a whiteboard to draw up, to see it come to fruition in front of 30,000 of your closest friends. I can't imagine a better way to do something like that. In our best teams, we've had, Nissan before Geodis, our stadium's always been like a fortress. And, someone asked me recently about my favorite moments I've been here. And, ironically, it was, League Cup final. It was even less to do with in 2023 against Miami. It was even less to do with what happened in the game. It was as the teams came out for warm-ups, what happened when Miami came out of the tunnel, because they came out of the tunnel, they were showered with booze. And I was in the field, and I have to tell you, I loved that so much I had chills. Because,
yes,
I had talked to Greg Berhalter, was U.S. national team manager at the time, and, he mentioned that everywhere he had been to watch Miami play, it had been like a traveling road show for Messi, and all the fans wore pink. He loved the fact that our fans almost held him in contempt, that they were coming in our house, and we were going to make sure they understood this is an unfriendly confines. And whether it was our players on the field, who fed off of that, whether it was our fans, kind of like the heartbeat of our game, kind of continuing on from there, we're at our very best when Geodis is like a hostile environment for visiting teams to play.
Mike Jacobs is with us from Nashville SC. The thing that I think is so unique about soccer is you're signing players not just from your league or from the United States, but from all around the world in different leagues. And, the news coming out today with Ahmed coming to Nashville Soccer Club from the Swedish Premier League. How big of a deal is that to be able to get a top-tier player like that from across the world?
Well, the trick, like with the job like a general manager or sporting director in soccer or in football, is not only you have to win, you also have to be able to acquire players and sell them also to be able to generate revenue off of them. So, talking to the sporting director or general manager at Elfsborg, it was in the middle of multiple deals, that he was trying to do. The idea of being able to attract a player like Ahmed Kassem, 2 weeks ago, he was playing in the Europa League against Tottenham Hotspur. So to get a chance to get a player of this caliber, but also at the age he's at age 21, it's highly unusual to have players from Europe come here at the age they're at, not even in their prime yet, so to add a player of his ability level, but also at the age he's at and where he's coming from is highly unusual. And we're really excited about being able to add a player of his caliber to our group.
You mentioned earlier the 34-game schedule, but, being so spread out. And a lot of that has to do with, I know the U.S. Open Cup is taking place, and there's international tournaments that a lot of these guys play in. We're kind of watching right now with hockey, the Four Nations tournament, and kind of the balance there of pausing the season so these guys can go do that. What is the balance of knowing that your guys are going to be able to represent their country and do other things, but also focusing on the task at hand and winning the MLS Cup?
I think we take for granted sometimes how much these guys run and their physical output compared to other sports. We had a game a couple of years ago. Alex Mule traditionally is one of the league leaders on distance covered. We keep track of tons of metrics. It would blow your mind if you saw all the things we look at tactically, physically. Alex had a match where he had 92 sprints in it, and a sprint is a certain distance. Let's say maybe it's 8 or 10 yards. To sprint 92 times in a match, that means he was doing that more than once a minute the entire game with someone chasing you, trying to kick you.
Wow.
So to think about something like that, it's almost subhuman. And, the idea of having to try to summon the strength to do that 2 or 3 times in a week sometimes, it's just not realistic. You're used to seeing in sports like baseball where pitchers rotate, in sports like football where players rotate every other play. The reality is it's just not possible to play all your guys every minute of every game. I always think it's interesting when people ask me about our starters. And I always say, if we only have 11 starters, like in a 34-game season, we're just not very good. So for us, you got to have 16 starters, it's not just next man up. You just have to have that kind of squad depth. And when you're in a salary cap league, and we're one of, I think, 3 soccer leagues in the world that have a salary cap, so it just provides different wrinkles in constructing a roster that enables you to have 15, 16 starters to rely on over a course of a 34-game season.
Mike, I like to see you chase around Geodis Park and try to kick him. I'll actually pay you money for this if you don't mind.
I don't think it'd be too hard to chase. So
yeah, no, you'd catch me pretty quick. Mike, appreciate the time as always. We're looking forward to another great season, and it all gets started Saturday against New England at Geodis Park. So looking forward to it. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Let's go.
Awesome. The boys in gold back in action. Mike Jacobs, the GM, joining us here on the program. And again, New England at 7:30 kick time at Geodis Park coming up on Saturday. Hard to believe the MLS season is here.
I love it. Something to do.
Absolutely. And we're going to be joined by BJ Callahan later in the week as well, their coach. So looking forward to that. Coming up next, we'll tell you what day it is and celebrity birthdays. It's Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I've got to concentrate. I've got to concentrate. Hello? Echo. Pinch hitting for Pedro Borbon. Manny Mota.
What is that from?
Airplane.
Airplane. Oh, that's it.
I'll explain in a moment why we played that.
I'm sure you have your reasons. Chasing Big Joe, 1025, 1063 the game. We got to move fast. Today's celebrity birthdays, and what day is it? Presented by Jared Companies, Inc. Above and beyond industry standards, electrical services, installations, electrical inspections, upgrades, and replacements. JaredCompaniesInc.com. That's your cue, Dr. Crane.
I'm sorry.
Go.
I apologize. Sorry.
People talking to you back there?
There is a lot of chatter going on back here. Sorry.
Hey, guys, shut up and let him finish the show.
Tell
Let's see.
David James quit kissing your neck. Let's go.
Whoa, no. Let's see. Cow milked while flying on an airplane day. That's a little odd. Crab stuffed flounder day. Eat ice cream for breakfast day. National Batteries Day. National Drink Wine Day. Pluto Day, and Thumb Appreciation Day. How fitting for our car conversation.
That was good.
Good job, Dr. Crane. All right, time for celebrity birthdays. Get them within two. First birthday, Yoko Ono.
Oh, wow.
That's a palindrome in her last name. Yoko Ono.
80.
82.
92 years old. Wow. Sybil Shepherd from Memphis.
83.
80.
75. John Travolta. What's so funny? John Travolta.
70.
68.
71. Chase McCabe is up 1-0. Good job, Chase. You know your Grease movies. Vanna White.
Ooh. 65.
62.
68.
Wow.
Matt Dillon. Not the sheriff, the actor.
Not Marshall Dillon.
Not Marshall Dillon.
64.
65.
61. Dr. Dre.
57.
59.
60. We're tied at 1.
Wow.
Molly Ringwald.
59.
58.
57. Dr. Crane's up 2-1. Well done here. Singer Dennis DeYoung of Styx. They kicked him out of the band.
For
Dennis
Mr.
DeYoung.
Roboto.
Mr. Roboto, right?
73.
75.
78. So close right there. Who else is here? The keyboard player, guitar player for Old Dominion, Trevor Rosen. Don't know him, but I think he lives here.
47.
48.
He's 50. Dr. Crane's up 3-1. Let's move over here and see. Hold on, just got one more here. Nobody there. All right, here we go. The reason we played that clip. Today's Manny Mota's birthday. How old is Manny Mota?
72.
83.
87.
Yeah.
PGA golfer, LPGA golfer, Judy Rankin.
57.
60.
80. Final birthday, Chase. You have a chance to tie, or Dr. Crane, you can win this. Dwight Freeney, former Colts defensive end, Dwight Freeney.
47.
43.
45. That's a push. Dr.
wow.
Crane, you win 3-1. You guys are terrible.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Crane. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Celebrity birthdays presented by Jared Companies, Inc. Above and beyond industry standards. Visit them at jaredcompaniesinc.com.
Hey, as we
gonna do it
close,
for us.
sorry, Chase. As we close out every show, to our guys out there, we're with you. If you're struggling, need to talk to somebody on your cell phone, you can call or text 988. Please do it. Please talk to someone, anybody, what you're going through. We're always here for you. We're grateful for the men who've reached out to us over the last 18 months. We love you and know that we're here for you. And if something happened to you, I tell you all the time, you'll be tremendously missed. That's why we want you to know that you are tremendously loved, not only by us, but God loves you as well.
Amen to that. Peace, love, rock and roll. DVD coming up next here on 1025.